Hello, and welcome to Words from Yo Mama. I'm your host, Simone. If you're a mom, or maybe considering being a mom, and you want some encouragement along the way, then this podcast is for you. On this podcast, I interview moms from every walk of life as they share their experiences. So thanks for listening. I am so excited to introduce Mama Adkins. She's a precious soul, and she's going to share some fantastic wisdom with you guys. But please bear with us. I, again, am still an amateur podcaster, and the connection on her end wasn't the best with the Zoom. So there may be some brief intermissions or some breakups with the sound quality. Just, again, I'm amateur. I'm still new at this, so give us grace. Just enjoy and cherish the words that she shares, because literally this interview was one of my top 5 interviews. Again, I'd like to introduce Mama Adkins. Mama Adkins, would you like to tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I am a wife, a mother, and a grandmother. I am 68 years old. I am also a pastor's wife in the ministry, have been for 50 years. And I love every minute of all of it. I am a daughter of 5, got 5 of us siblings. I'm the middle child. You know, the most compliant, they say. Yeah. And so, yes, I love life.
Awesome. And you absolutely love life. Just talking to your girls and just spending a little bit of time with you for Jess's wedding, I know that you just have a thrill for life. So I'm super excited to interview you today.
Well, thank you.
No problem. So let's get right into these questions. You are, I've heard, a fantastic cook.
Oh, yeah. Well, that sounds nice. I enjoy that too. I don't know how fantastic, but I enjoy it.
I've heard some things. But on every great cook has a bad day. So tell the
Yes.
audience what your worst kitchen failure would be.
Oh my. Have you been talking to somebody? I left church on a Sunday afternoon, took my one daughter and her family. She has 5 children, Heidi. I took them home for a Sunday dinner, and I was going to fix breakfast, biscuits, gravy, all the fun, good stuff. And I could not get my gravy to thicken.
Oh no.
And I'd add flour and add flour. I finally told him, I said, look, uh, we're going to have what they call long gravy. I said, because I can't get this thick. So we sat down to eat, and my grandchildren started going, ooh, Marmy. Oh, Marmy. And I said, what? I hadn't tasted it. They said, this gravy is so sweet. And I was sticking in it with powdered sugar instead of flour.
Oh
So
man.
that was rather disappointing. I was so hungry for good old milk gravy, and I had powdered sugar gravy.
That sounds like it could be
So
a little interesting.
yes, that was a little bit yucky.
Man.
Yeah, and they won't let me live it down.
So, that sounds exhausting. Tell us a little bit about what you do to recharge and relax.
Oh my. I really love to just sit and drink coffee or hot tea and read. I love to read.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we sometimes will try to get away out of town. I love the Smoky Mountains. That is a very relaxing place. And but that's mostly what I do, or go see my girls. That's not always real relaxing on, but we have fun and we like to do all that together.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So, what would you consider the hardest part about being a mom?
Um, Sometimes always being fair, making sure that you're fair with the child, um, which I always try to be, especially with three girls, trying to be fair with all three of them. But learning experiences and stuff like that, uh, letting them go when they got married
Hmm.
was the hardest part, the empty nest. And that was very hard. But rearing them, raising them up, it was, I guess, probably being fair with them and considering them at times. But as good girls, they weren't really hard to raise. They were a joy.
They didn't. There was one question I asked both of them. I was like, "What's the most trouble you've ever gotten into?" They're like, "I don't know. I've never gotten into any trouble." I'm like, surely y'all have gotten into trouble before.
Oh, they have. And I've learned since they've all left home and they start reliving some of their childhood experiences, they've done some things I never did know about. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But
Sneaky
yeah, they were
kids.
good girls. We didn't have any issues with them. Thank the Lord.
So, what do you love the most about being a mom?
I love the relationship that we had. I was definitely always mom, and they knew it. But then we become friends also. And I loved homeschooling them. I felt like that was my quality time with them as far as one on one. I really enjoyed homeschooling, and when they all graduated, that was a hard adjustment for me too, and I missed that. They didn't always love homeschooling, but I loved it because I could be with them. And but then we had, traditional things that we did together. We like to play together. I like to play with them. We like to have tea parties, and we like to cook and bake. Heather always loved to experiment with foods, and Haley or Heidi always loved to bake.
Yep.
She always said together we would make one good wife. You cook and I'll bake. But they were a joy in that, and I really loved doing all of that with them.
Yeah.
They became friends, and I missed them so bad when they left home.
Aww. It's so sweet, especially being a minister's wife and a minister's family. Like, you guys really don't have time to yourself. So, homeschooling was even more special, I'm sure, because of that.
Right, right.
That's great.
Yes.
So, what would be the proudest moment you've had as a mom?
Well, as a minister's wife and family, like you said, I was very proud of my girls in the home when we would entertain ministry. We would have a lot of ministers within our home, and a lot of times they gave up their beds for the ministry
Aw.
and never did complain about it. They thought it was an honor. I taught them about the lady in the scriptures that built a room on the side of her house for the ministry, and they felt like that's what they were doing. And even as little girls, they would help me prepare for the ministry. They helped me cook. They helped me set up the table. They helped me serve the ministry. And then there would be times like Mary and Martha, they'd spend time at the feet of the ministry and learn and talk to them about their country, especially if they were missionaries.
Yeah.
And they loved it, and they had a great education with that. And so therefore, we did have a lot of joyful times like that with them, and I was proud of them because of their servant spirit. And to this day, all three of them have that still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the audience will hear it, but we had a conversation, with Heidi, and we talked for at least 20 minutes, a good solid 20 minutes, just about how much you guys have installed love into them and how to love everyone. And then we were talking about how challenging it can be because not everyone is like you and I. Not everyone is like what you would want to hang around or anything like that. But she just talked
Right.
about how foundational y'all's education was on leading and loving and caring for others.
Yes, and they do, and I'm proud of them for that. To this day, I'm proud of them in their ministries where they're all three gone from home and in different churches, and they serve everywhere they can there, and they're all three in music. Um, I hesitate to brag on them so much because it sounds like they're perfect. Well, they're not quite, but almost. And so me and their daddy are very proud, and we're thankful to God because without the Lord, we couldn't.
Right,
That's thankful.
right. That's so good. So thinking back, Mama Adkins, tell us about some of the fondest memories you've had with your kids.
Um, that's a little bit hard because we've had so many.
Yeah.
Their their daddy and I were we were so much alike in our values and in our uh, decisions on what we wanted our girls to do and know. And we worked together with them. And there was times that we would take them out and just have a day of fun. I can't remember now what it was you just asked, but we would have our times of fun together with them. And with their schooling, we were versatile, and we'd go to the parks, we'd play, pick at pine cones. And I don't know if that answered your question because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't remember what.
It was just a fond memory you had with your
Oh
kids, so that
yeah,
definitely answers it.
yeah. And since they've been gone, just a couple years or so ago, um, there was, I think, 18 of us or so. We all went together to Yellowstone Park,
Nice.
and we traveled in 3 cars and all the way across the country to the Yellowstone. And we had the best of time with all of our little children. Good. And that was a vacation that we'll never forget, and the kids won't ever forget it. And I think we done it just in time before everything really kind of went haywire out that way with Yellowstone. They've had a lot of disasters that has hit the park, but it was just a God thing that we planned it. Me and the girls planned it, and the men went along with us, and the kids. We just had vacation. It was a something that their daddy had on his bucket list. He wanted to always go there, and we got to make it happen. And that was that. I'll never forget that.
That sounds so incredible. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, since we're still thinking down memory lane, tell us 3 events that most shaped your life.
3 events.
Yes, ma'am.
Uh, well, having my girls, of course, giving birth to them was just miraculous. How life itself is miraculous. And it was something that I had studied and prepared myself for in reading and studying about pregnancy and breastfeeding and all the things that goes with motherhood. And I always kind of felt like it was a no-fail thing, that I could do it. And I enjoyed every minute. And thankfully, I had no complications with any of it. They were good babies. One or two was a little bit more demanding than the other one, but they were good babies. Um, and then as they grew up, there again, see, I forgot your question. But I loved it, and I loved the time that they got married. Their weddings were beautiful, and then when they started giving me grandbabies, and that changed my life.
Yeah.
The phases and the seasons of life there's a really truth to that. And when I became a grandmother, they all call me Marmy, like the Marmy on Little Women. Um, that is a life-changing thing. And when we had boys, because I had all girls, I was raised with girls. We didn't have any brothers. And so that was life-changing and a learning experience. We have 12 grandbabies. We have 6 boys, 6 girls. We lost one of our grandbabies. She would be 15. We lost her at birth. She was stillborn. And that was an experience, of course, that you don't get over. And you learn from it, and you learn to trust God, and you learn to depend on He knows what's best. We didn't know the future. We don't know, but He knew what was best. He has granted us, let's see, that would be 10 more babies since then. And I mean, they started coming in threes. And all 3 girls had one baby in 1 year. And so that was an event and an experience I'll never forget either, running from Pennsylvania to Emmett to Glasgow to, around the world to be with my girls and their new babies.
Wow.
But it was wonderful and it very eventful, and we it changes your life.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yes,
That sounds
yes,
very exciting and very tolling at the same time. You see all these kids everywhere.
yeah, yeah. They're all so close in age that you got your own little Sunday school class right
Right?
there.
Or a football team or
Uh,
anything.
yeah, and they take it on too.
Oh, yeah. So, with having so many grandkids and kids and just families, because not only are you introducing grandkids, but you've got your kids' significant others and their families, I'm sure your house is very busy. What would you
Yes.
say makes your home warm and inviting?
Um, One thing, when they come home, it is home. They can come and go as they want. They can eat what they want. Everything's available to them. It's their house. It's their home. And I try to always have it convenient for them as I can. With 18 of us in one home, 3 bedrooms, it's not always easy. But I want it to be convenient and welcoming to them, that they don't feel crowded and stacked on top of each other. But I have candles burning. I have uh, things on the stove smelling good. I bake ahead of time. I try to have things ready so that when they come in, it's not all work, work, work.
Yeah.
But I try to, for just anybody, I try to have my home clean and ready for anybody to be able to come. It don't always happen, but I'd like for it to. And we try to have things to do. Um, my husband has shooting range out back. We have a swimming pool that the grandkids have loved and come home and just enjoy. Um, we have music. We have, good food. And, I try to make my house appealing from the street. I want it to be decorated nice, cozy, warm, and inviting.
Yeah. Yeah. That's everything. I know in principle, like these things are easy to say, but to actually do them, it just sounds so,
Right.
again, just so tasking.
Yeah. And when we all get together and are together a day or two, you wonder, why did I even try? This place is disastrous, but it's a fun disaster.
Yeah. I can imagine
Enjoy
all
it.
the little blankets lined up on the floors. Everyone's making their beds in the floor.
Right.
It sounds like a good time.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
So you've kind of already tapped on this question, but we're just going to go back. We're going to ask about some family traditions you had as a kid.
Okay, as I had.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, one thing we always did, um, my dad drove the school bus to a Christian school that we attended. And so we all got up together and had a little bit of breakfast and all got on the school bus together. I knew that was a daily thing we was going to do. First one on the bus, the last one off the bus, because Daddy drove it. But I went to a Christian school, and I knew every day that's what I was going to do and be with the same kids. And twice a week, we turn around and go back to church and be with the same kids. And I can't tell you how that has affected me all my life, and the teaching that I've got there, how that really it reinforced what mom and dad was teaching us at home, and it has built a very strong foundation on the Word of God, the principles of living for God, the principles of being a good citizen, um, character, manners, um, how that has affected me. And I go back in my mind many times to those days and get answers even for things I face today and how to raise my kids. Then at home, we had, I knew that we were going to have supper together as a family. Mom and dad always made sure of that. And now looking back, I don't know how they did it all with 5 of us girls and how they supplied all our needs, but they did. And those traditions really rung home to me that mom and dad was going to be get together and we were going to discuss the day at the supper table. And it was just a good time. And then we went to church consistently. We went every Tuesday night, every Thursday night, twice on Sunday, consistent. And there was no questions. You had to have a fever not to go. And it was just, it was good upbringing. Even to my high school years, the older I got involved in ministry, my dad became a pastor, and we left the home church and went to another church. And I felt like it was my calling as much as it was his and mom's. I got involved in the church I was 14 years old. I taught Sunday school, learned to play the organ, and that's been ministry ever since. And that's what's kept us all these years. It's the foundation that was laid.
Yeah, most definitely. From a strong marriage to even the ministry perspective of it all. Like those, I don't want to say that they're rare anymore, but they're not very common.
Right, true. I am so thankful, and I don't take any of that for granted because I can see now looking back how the Lord had his hand on me as a young elementary child. He directed my steps and decisions then, and I've always loved it. I mean, my mom and dad imparted their love for the work of God into us, and I just love it.
Yeah, that's so good. It's so good and so important because I feel like as a younger person, ministry can be looked at as a task. It's not something that you get the honor or pleasure of doing. It's not I'm serving. It's oh, I've got to go clean the church on Saturday. Oh, I've got to go do this. I've got to
Yeah,
play this instrument. So it's cool that you have
true.
that love for ministry and you've given it to your
Yeah.
kids.
And it's because my mom and dad handed it to us. It was an honor. It is a privilege that God entrusted us with that calling, and we can't take it lightly. And
No,
better
man.
do our best.
Yeah, you're so right. So tell us a little bit about, or one thing rather, tell us one thing that your mom always said to you growing up.
God keeps good records. She's always impressed that upon us. And there's an all-seeing eye, and He keeps good records. You feel like you've been cheated out of something, God knows, and He keeps good records. She's always told us that.
That
And
sounds like both a terrifying and such a gracious statement at the same time.
yeah, you hope that maybe He forgot that one
Right.
sometimes, but yeah, He don't. Till you repent of it anyway.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's her favorite phrase.
I love that. That's good. Well, that's all we have this week. Be sure to tune in next week for more Words from Your Mama.